Well, hello and good evening, folks, and welcome along to a breaking news podcast here on the Rangers Rabble, the Rabble Network, and of course part of the TalkSport fan network as well. That's a mouthful these days, by the way, to intro these shows. So yes, in typical Rangers fashion, at awkward o'clock at night, because that's what they like to do apparently with these announcements, Rangers decided to announce the news we were all hoping for, an early Christmas present for us all in October. Russell Martin, the curtains have finally came down. He has been sacked as Rangers boss. The rumour mill was swirling around a little earlier on this evening, and it was confirmed about 20 minutes ago. Thank God for that. The nightmare is over as far as Russell Martin is concerned. I have three very capable people with me this evening to pore over this and see where we move to next and who they fancy. First up, we have Hamish. How are we?
I'm all right, mate. I'm a lot happier than I was a couple of hours ago. I could tell you that. I was just faffing about on 2K25, sorting stuff out for the next 2K25 installment, and then boom, here we are, talking about, weirdly, Rangers getting a win after not getting a win. It's great.
And Brian, how are we doing?
I feel like I'm going to be the Joker this whole pod. Can't get the smile off my face. I'm so happy. This had to happen, not only for his sake but our sakes, because we were going absolutely berserk, trying to make every pod worthwhile and positive. But we were struggling in the last few weeks, and I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy.
Yes, and the watch-along king himself, the man who had to suffer and endure the vast majority of Russell Martin's tenure in the public eye for our members, is, of course, Alex. Alex, how are we?
Oh, I'm over the moon, mate. I'm absolutely delighted. I can actually enjoy a watch-along now. Jesus Christ, I don't have to sit there and watch Russell Martin sitting on a fucking iPad for 90 minutes, maybe getting the occasional stand up, look at a player and then sit back down. So actually, we can get rid of all the anxiety around the club and all the stress and mentality that Russell Martin has gone. So hopefully, it's actually going to give us something to talk about now for the international break, because he's gone. They've done it at a good time. We've now got 11 days or so.
Yes.
For Russell Martin to piss off back down south and somebody to take the hot seat.
Hallelujah. Blue Mac, that's dreadful part for you, mate. We can't be. I assure you that I am here for the long haul. So you're stuck with me. Unfortunately for you. Let's just firstly get to these early super chats that have been flying in. I mean, it's busy, as you can imagine, in a night like tonight. So we'll start. We'll get Lee Miller has become a YouTube member. Welcome, Lee, to the Madhouse. You'll find all sorts of fun stuff in your membership, so make sure you stay tuned. Vix, we're 199 super chat says, has McInnes left Hearts yet? Well, we will get into that conversation, Vix, because that is something we need to discuss, whether he could potentially be the next man in the Rangers dugout. Charles, we're 499er, evening Connor, evening Snake. Evening Tam Bundy and evening BFG. Evening Charles. Suppose that's all you can say there. Hoagie 75, £50 super sticker. That is tremendous, Hoagie. Thank you very much. Put a comment. I know it's a super sticker, but if you've got a comment, fire it in. Just add like a big S or something at the start of it, so I know that it's for that, and we'll definitely bring it up. Because a £50 super chat absolutely merits that. And lastly, for now, Mr. Bassman, with
Mr. Bassman.
Sorry, Mr. Bassman. My apologies, Mr. Bassman with a 50 krona.
You can see the cogs turning in that head. Yes, yeah. You're right.
It's a krona. You're right. No worry.
Yes, 50 Norwegian krona. Super chat there. Ketchy Knutson contract expires at Bodo Glimt in December. Get Barry in until then. In an ideal world, hurrah, loudest appeared in months. Well, I mean, I don't know if we'll go with an interim manager between now and then, possibly. Ian, we'll kick off with that since he's, as a fifth year and he's done that. Would you accept an interim team of Barry Ferguson until December and then get Knutson?
Okay, I'm going to start off controversial, but I don't want Barry anywhere near this. The man lived off of 2 results. He lost 5 games in a row at Ibrox. We needed to score 2 goals every game just to get a result, whether that was a draw or a win. I know he's a legend as a player, but he's done nothing at all as a manager of any great note. It's all well and good going over to the other side of the city and getting a win at their place, but we needed a last-minute win after being 2-0 up to get it, so I don't want him anywhere near it. Knutson, I think he'll sign an extension at Bodo Glimt, to be fair, but if he was interested and willing to talk, I would be on the phone and I would have a chat because he's a very good manager. What he's done with Bodo Glimt speaks for itself. Started off with like small appearances in Europe, and they've built that to a game where this week in the Champions League they were unlucky to get a draw. So definitely a name I'd be looking to talk to if he was willing to talk to us. A very good manager, and I would go straight there if there's any chance. But I do have a feeling that they've got rid of Martin now because they already have a man lined up. But only time will tell on that one.
I would agree, actually, with that. Right, let's get into the meat and bones of it then. I will read you the statement that the club released this evening. It's not an incredibly long statement. It's actually fairly short and sweet. So it says, Rangers Football Club confirms that it has parted company with head coach Russell Martin. While all transition periods require some time, results have not met the club's expectations. Assistant head coach Matt Gill and first team coach Mike Williamson will also be departing. Russell and his staff have worked exceptionally hard throughout their time at the club. We thank them for their efforts and wish them well for the future. Further updates from the club will follow in due course. So, Brian, short and sweet, results haven't met the club's expectations. That's been the case for quite a while. Why it has taken till now, I have no idea. But, I mean, in the end, they've got to the right decision.
Yeah, they've went the long way, haven't they? They've taken a few detours and made a few bad turns, but they've eventually got to where they wanted, and I think everybody will be universally delighted about this. It's one of these managerial appointments that hasn't worked out. It's as simple as that. Nobody wants a manager to be sacked because if the manager's sacked, your club's failed. And at the end of the day, nobody wanted this situation, but it was very apparent early doors something wasn't clicking with Rangers and Russell Martin. It wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction that we suddenly decided, oh, this isn't working. This was a build-up. This was a very slow burn of a situation. You could see things happening from afar and a long time ago. I mean, folk were calling it straight after, was it the Dundee game at home? Folk were starting to cast doubts way back then, the second game of the season. I thought that was extremely quick. I thought that was harsh, but the longer this situation's went on, the longer that it's been apparent that it's just not working. As you say, the board eventually decided, but I think today, with what happened at Falkirk Stadium, I think what happened with the bus situation perhaps accelerated things because they realised this wasn't going to go any other way than what's happened now. So yeah, I think the hierarchy have acted under duress rather than them making a decision, because I think they've seen how the fans have reacted today, and I think they've even had enough of the negativity.
Yeah, I mean, look, Alex, the reality is that really from early on in his tenure, even if you go back to pre-season, there were red flags there. There were warning signs. Now, you want to give a manager time. We all get that, right? None of us wanted Russell Martin in, but once he comes in the door, you back him and you say, right, okay, let's get it right then. Let's go and produce something good here. And he made some signings and you thought, well, that looks good. We've done a lot of business there. These players could be decent. But at no point did you see anything really that showed an improvement. Yes, Russell Martin himself would probably point to the Pilsen result, for example, or the Panathinaikos results that he got through, and say, well, there was positives in that. But you didn't feel like, despite what Russell Martin claimed himself today, post-match interviews after the Falkirk game, didn't really feel like there was any improvements happening. And that's always the biggest problem.
It's the biggest problem. There was never really any improvements. You could see it after even the first league game of the season. It never got any better. And Russell Martin's attitude didn't really help us either, because if he wasn't throwing players under the bus, it was throwing the fans, it was blaming the pitch, it was blaming attitude, mentality. It was never just that his tactics didn't work. Do you know, he was saying we're trying to build something, we're trying to build harmony, we're doing this, we're doing that, but it was never his fault. And I think that's where Russell Martin went wrong. He never said that I need to improve, I need to change this. It was, well, the players are still adjusting, we're still adjusting to life, it's a new club. But when you look at some of the games, a lot of these boys were here last season and they're still going, it's a mentality thing, we're struggling. He never really got to, he never encompassed what a Rangers manager was, Russell Martin. I think that was his biggest issue. I think he came in and a lot of people didn't want him from the start, so that went against him from the get-go, that people didn't want him. But we were led to believe that after, was it a good 5 or 6 interviews he had, that he was the man for the job. 7, there you go, 7 interviews, he was the man for the job. Just it shows that whatever the recruitment was, he can talk a good game, and he tried to do that in his press conferences. But if you watch him as the games were going on, he was getting worse and worse, and folk were just completely disconnected from him. The treatment of players. So Nico Raskin, the treatment he got. Finlay Curtis is like in the abyss right now. We don't even know where he is. The treatment that certain players got that we were looking at from Russell Martin has been shocking, and I think he's completely lost every one of the fans. It's just not worked out, though. I think a lot of times you can get a recruitment and it takes a couple of games and you start seeing results improve. It never happened. It never happened. Even when we got to Hearts, you think maybe it's going to improve now. Maybe we'll start to see it. Then we get beat 2-0. Then we get beat 1-0 off of Genk. Then we beat Levy. Then we get beat again by Sturm Graz, and then we drop points. So there was never an improvement. There was never a climb up. I mean, at one point we were all it was all over social media. We're celebrating being 4th. How is that acceptable to celebrate being 4th before the game's even finished? But that was meant to be joyous, you know. Get behind Russell Martin, we're improving, and then Falkirk go equalise. Shit, right? We've messed up here. And as we put in the group chat, you know, when a manager walks across the pitch, that's kind of your marching orders to say see you later on. That's kind of the walk of shame, walking over the pitch to say, well, that's you, and not even getting on the team bus. Just showed that he didn't even want to engage with the fans. There was fans obviously waiting at the bus, not letting him on. Didn't want to engage with anybody in a private car in the way he went. So he's obviously been pulled straight into a meeting in Glasgow and told, right, Russell, there's your P60. We'll see you later on, and off you pop.
P60, P45. I mean, honestly, when you line up, Alex, you really should know the difference. But Ian, I'm going to bring this up, right, because I don't know where it's coming from, right? However, it appears that there are, as always happens, right, in this situation, rumours swirl in the immediacy of it. That's not something I've heard of, but I've seen a couple of people mention that. That can't be true.
I think that Gallant is pulling on something a little bit further down on the body.
I think so as well. I only brought it up because I've seen a couple of other mentions of it in the comments, and I'm going, why would that be a thing? That's just I mean, if it is, what's the point anymore?
I'd be amazed if Kavanagh, Marath, Thelwell, Stewart, Miniature Stewart, and Miniature Thelwell, sorry, and all the rest of them even knew who Dick Campbell was. They would have just probably gone off and looked for a DVD still game thinking it was one of the characters. So I think that Gallant is just having a little pull of the old plonker there, my friend.
I agree. No, 100%. And thank you, Martin. I didn't believe it for a second, but a few people mentioned it. So that's the only thing that went, that's odd. But of course, it's absolute bunkum. You know, we're not stupid, right? Well, we're not. But listen, can you blame me? This is Rangers. We hired Russell Martin, so it's possible that we would hire the fucking bin man right now. Anyway, moving on swiftly from that. There are more super chats flying in. Let's see. Lee Miller, 9.99 super chat for Lee Miller. Thank you very much indeed, Lee. McInnes only knows Scottish football. Hearts knows what it means to be a Rangers manager. No rinse and repeat foreign managers who know nothing about Rangers in the Scottish game. Brian, do you think that's the route we now need to go down?
I think it's the route in the sense of knowing the league. 100% agree with that. As to McInnes coming to us, I would hazard a guess that Hearts will not even entertain the notion of it. I cannot see Hearts even like as soon as whoever answers the phone at Hearts, it's such and such at Rangers, they'll just put the phone down. They won't want to engage. They'll just turn around and say no. Hearts are doing really well just now. They're top of the league. McInnes is obviously enjoying what he's doing there. So I would rather just concentrate on other targets that we're realistically going to get rather than just a flat no. I just don't see Hearts dealing with us at all. So, but yeah, I agree in the sense that we need somebody that's in the Scottish game. Martin's always been banging on about Stephen Robinson. Wouldn't be a terrible shout. He's done really well at Motherwell. He's done really well at St Mirren with what budgets he's had. So, that's the sort of line we've got. We've got to get some. We can't have these project managers anymore. Guys that are young, and you've got to get some experience and experienced coaches in there. And experienced manager. You can't have this young managers and trying to navigate their way in the football world coming to Rangers. We've got to get a guy that's in there that knows the game inside out and doesn't need to be mollycoddled and shown what to do. We need somebody that's experienced now.
Alex, we're not a project club, and I think this board need to understand that. Yes, obviously, development of players is important. Of course, it is. It's important that you make sure that you're getting things right in terms of player trading models and stuff. We get all of that. But the most important thing at Rangers Football Club for any manager, any board, is winning games of football. It is the most important thing. Now, hopefully, and I agree with the super chat and with Brian, for me, we need somebody who's proven in the door and get the sleeves rolled up and get toe right in amongst it.
No, I totally agree. I think there's obviously a lot of names flying about. When you look at, like, we were talking about it before we came on with the odds and stuff, and I think when you actually look at it, there's a lot of managers that there'll be a sort of naivety when they come to our league because they think it's quite an easy league to win. They think it's a two-horse race between us and the other side of Glasgow that will easily run away and it's not going to be an issue. I think that's what your biggest thing you're actually encountering right now is that we need somebody that knows the Scottish game, knows how to, because look at it, we struggle week in, week out with the low block. And managers that come in, you don't see that a lot. Like you get managers that are from like the German league, for example, where it's not really a thing to see the low block. See if you get somebody like Robinson, somebody like McInnes, who actually know how to deal with that week in, week out, who know how to actually work this game. Because we spoke about this in game week 1, where we're getting outmanaged by Stephen Presley, and we were all tipping him to get the sack first. And yet we're saying Russell Martin's the man that's going to turn this around. We need somebody that knows this game. I wouldn't be opposed to Derek McInnes or Stephen Robinson. There she is. They're probably going to hang up the phone for both of us and saying, "No, we're all right. We'll see you later on. Try somebody else." Because although we're not a project club, we're not in a good place. The fan base is obviously against Patrick Stewart and Thirlwell right now. So a manager that comes in, realistically, the players that we've got there are good enough to get us going, right? But a manager that comes in has to hit the ground running. We come back and we're straight away to Dundee United. It's not an easy game to go away, and then we're away in Europe, and then it's more games sticking fast. The issue you've got is that see if we come in and they lose the first game or they get a draw, we're all going to just think it's rinse and repeat. The same manager's going to do the exact same thing over and over again. It needs to be a manager that knows to come in with a mentality and actually get us going. The one thing that we can't do is rush the appointment, but we can't take too long because we've only got 11 days of the international break. We need somebody in now who is actually going to go and get this club working. I've seen a lot of comments obviously going for Steven Gerrard. Maybe we get Gerrard back if he wants to come back, but there's obviously a lot of chat and people who want their dream managers, their dream appointment. But for me, it doesn't matter who it is. It just they have to get the results going straight away. There's no way we can be sitting down in 8th going, we'll get back up eventually. We might get Europe and we might get a cup, but we'll get back up next season. No, as Rangers Football Club, we cannot afford to be in the lower half of the table. We can't afford to be out of the top 2 spots. We need those European spots. So see, sitting this far down, they're going to feel it in the pocket. Like Kavanagh will feel us in the pocket. If it come the end of the season, we're sitting 5th or 6th, and next season we've got no European football. They need to get this managerial appointment right and do it now. Russell Martin was your project manager that hasn't worked. You need to get it right now.
Yeah, and Ian, to nicely segue for Alex's mention there of Steven Gerrard, he has been mentioned by quite a few of the faithful in the comments tonight. And Beat Bob Boop put in a 199 super chat also to that effect, saying, Gerrard, you're the one you still turn me on. Can Steven Gerrard come in and make the club whole again, Ian?
Now, I'm not one for going back. Generally, the only one I was ever happy to go back to, because we've had a lot of players that have gone and come back, Mark Hateley, etc., and things like that. The only thing I was ever over the moon with about going back the way to bring a man back in was Walter. That was the only one I was ever happy to see come back to the club was Walter, because you knew that he would encompass the club and smash it. Would I be upset if Steven Gerrard came back? No. But it would be different this time because that team that he had behind him was what made Gerrard successful, as well as Steven Gerrard. Because Gerrard has the aura and does demand respect. But his team, so Gary Mack, dare I say his name, Michael Beale, Nick Colshaw, all that lot, they were the reason behind the success of Steven Gerrard at Ibrox at that time. I don't know if he does it with a separate team, but if he was to rock up tomorrow back in the Shoot the Brown Brogues and walking up the side of the pitch going, come on, let's go again, I wouldn't be against it. He loves Rangers. He's told us that. He's also told Debbie to get to as well. So maybe just the thing is he's the club is deep within him now because his son, every picture you see of his son on socials, he's got a Rangers kit on. So the club is ingrained in his heart. I think he would do a great job for us if he can be backed, because that's why he left. I know everyone jumps on saying Gerrard, he walked out, he left us, but he left because he wasn't backed. He wanted to do the best for the club. He's told us, fix the roof while the sun's shining, and the board at the time, the current board, didn't do that. I think a Gerrard who gets backed, you might get more out of it. But it depends where it sits with his being able to come back to the country. I don't know if he's able to come back yet, how much it's going to cost him to actually come back here. I know there's a lot of people saying his missus don't want to do it. I don't think Steven Gerrard's going to be told by his missus where he can and can't work somehow. If he does come back, I'd be over the moon. I'd love it, but I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just got to say, Stephen Whitelaw has just become mine's and I think Alex's new favourite person. Guy in the top left and bottom right, probably never seen us when we were a great team, so feel sorry for you, but maybe one day. As much as I appreciate that, we are obviously older than you think we are, because I do remember this. I remember the tail end of 9 in a row, and I remember winning the league title at Parkhead in 1999, and then all through the 2000s, and how super ultra competitive that was. So I appreciate the compliment though. And Alex, of course, being a smidgen older than myself, will also remember plenty of those good times. I do like that though, because it's not often that people think I'm younger than them. Like, it's usually the reverse that's true. So you've got to take it when you can get it. Do you know what I mean? But say, sure, we'll have less of that 65. It's me that's on Wolf. But anyway, Brian, on the Gerrard possibility, if we just stick with that for a second, right? Mm-hmm. If Gerrard did come in, right, and he decided, as Ian was referencing there, to bring back his old coaching staff, Gary Mack, Michael Beale, Gary Mack wouldn't be a problem. Would the fans accept Michael Beale back at Ibrox as a coach under Steven Gerrard? And as a follow-up to that, would Michael Beale come back as a coach?
Put it this way: if it was a case of Gerrard agreed to come back, but he wanted to take Beale back, I think the fans would swallow that. I think the fans would swallow their pride. Not a lot of them, not everybody, because I can't say that, but the vast majority of the fans would swallow that purely because it's Gerrard back. As Ian alluded to just before me, if he was, just think if this board were in place when he had just come off what he'd done, where the board could have taken him with a bit of backing, and that's why he ultimately left. It was nothing, He went to the EPL because he wasn't getting backed here, and he wasn't going to see progression. So that'll be the difference this time. If he did come back, he will be backed. He will be supported. He'll be given money to build a team how he wants it. Obviously not everybody would be happy if Michael Beale came back, but I'll tell you what, we started winning again and we started lifting trophies again, fans would suddenly change their tune, wouldn't they? Because I'm not going to sort of beat around the bush. I wouldn't be totally happy with Michael Beale coming back, but if it meant Gerrard coming back and us winning things, I would sacrifice my pride and swallow that pill.
Can I just ask you though, Brian, see before we move on, Connor, can I just ask you, Brian, do you think though that obviously the amount of money that we gave to Russell Martin, and obviously that's not worked out, how much money would you actually perceive this next manager's going to get, especially in like January? If they want to strengthen the squad, we spent nearly the guts of 30 million. How much are they actually going to get to spend? Because they've obviously invested a lot in what Russell Martin's vision was and what we want to do going forward. That's not worked, and there's a lot of players you can actually see don't work at the club. So then if you're going, right, Gerrard, then you come, are they going to give him another 20 million, another 15 million to go, right, you go get players? I think that's a view that a lot of the managers are also going to want to ask as well.
Well, I personally think there's a lot of good in that squad. I just don't think they're getting coached correctly and they're not getting worked correctly. I don't think this squad is completely dead. I don't think it's all rotten. I think they're just not getting coached the correct way. And obviously, if Gerrard came in, he would want money in January. I'm quite sure the board would back him. I wouldn't have any qualms about them backing him as well. I mean, the owners have got deep pockets, so 20 million to them is nothing. So I would be quite comfortable in the fact that if Gerrard did come in, these new owners wouldn't hesitate and back him. Not a shadow of a doubt would they even consider not backing him.
I would also point out that not only we spent the guts of £30 million, but we made some money on players I never expected to make money on. £6 million for Yefte. No one saw that coming. So they've made money as well. So they're good at what they do. Let's put it that way.
I'll tell you what, the players would suddenly look at Gerrard and go, "Oh, they would look at him a little bit differently than they have done the last few managers."
Mm-hmm.
I get all that. I'm not convinced because, we seem to forget that it was not all a bed of roses under Steven Gerrard. And that actually, before COVID curtailed the season before we won the league, he was 13 points behind Celtic again in the January. Because Gerrard's seasons followed a pattern where we started well, came out the blocks well, were matching Celtic, and then after the Christmas break, usually under Gerrard after a positive result in the Old Firm, would come back and crumble at the start of the year and for January onwards. And the pressure of it being the business end would get to the players and we could never get over that line. As I say, 13 points behind them when the league was brought down. And I feel there was every chance that Steven Gerrard would have got his marching papers if that season didn't get curtailed. Obviously, that didn't happen. But all I'm saying is it still would be a bit of a gamble. Alex, I'm going to put a question to you here from Rocky Van Grego, RVD, which the wrestling fans will appreciate, as well as obviously Rocky movie fans as well. But it's a fair question to ask. He's saying, what manager will want to touch our club after seeing some of the worst toxic fans and Martin needing a police escort? What I'll say on that, first and foremost, I find that personally is not a good look. I think it's unacceptable. I will criticise Russell Martin all day long as a manager because I think he is a terrible manager. He is statistically the worst I've ever seen in a Rangers dugout, and he deserves the criticism for that, particularly when he decides to blame everybody but himself. However, personal attacks, not acceptable. The idea that for, safety reasons, the manager has to be escorted out covertly from any stadium is wrong. Blocking team buses in, again, we as a fan base are better than that and should conduct ourselves better than that. Would that be a concern for any manager coming in the door, that if it got a bit toxic for them, that's what could happen? Is that a fair comment for Rocky?
It's definitely a fair comment, but I think you've also got to realise that it's not great, and I'm going to preface by saying it's not a great look for any of us, and it shouldn't be the case. But Russell Martin alienated the fans from the start. There was never that connection there. I think it's going to be the job of the new manager to get that trust and that connection back with all the fans, because that's very much was gone quite quickly with Russell Martin. It's never a good look when the players can't get on the bus for a full hour. They're having to stand in the tunnel for a full hour waiting to get on the bus because they want to talk to Russell Martin. That's not a good look. And it shouldn't be the case for any manager, any player to have to go through that. I mean, you're only wanting to get back up the road and you're literally being stopped by fans. I'm going to say fans, because can you really call yourself a fan if you're literally you're causing that much of a disruption that folk can't get back up the road? But I do think it would be a concern. It's obviously a safety concern as well, but you've got to think that's down to Police Scotland as well, because they're there to protect the players, they're there to protect the manager, and that was quite evident that it didn't happen. Because if they've managed to crowd the bus the way they did, there was a barrier in the way, and they're all on the other side of the barrier blocking any route to the bus, and then Russell Martin's having to get his own private car to get up the road. But I think it just shows that the relationship, the trust, whatever, was completely gone. There was a complete disconnect between Russell Martin and our fans. I think that if a new manager comes in, that needs to just be quashed straight away, regardless if it's Gerrard, McInnes, Robinson, or if it's a completely new name that none of us have spoke about. There needs to be that connection there. We obviously seen it when it was at Thirlwell and Patrick Stewart were approached in the lobby. Obviously, the interactions were never great. There was a lot of swearing and a lot of shouting, but we're entitled as fans to at least have our say. Do you know what I mean? We're entitled to have our say. Just that's probably not the best way to go about it, but you're entitled to at least have an opinion, have a conversation with a manager. I just think that there's better ways of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, just before we do move topics, because it is something that you have to discuss on these shows. Del Boy there saying, passionate fans, what's wrong with that? They knew we needed their club back. And I've seen a couple of other people saying as well, look, it worked. I get where people are coming from there, right? And passionate fans, 100%, right? We are all passionate about the club. Every Rangers fan is. And that's great. That is one of the things that the club's built on. It's the lifeblood, the Rangers Football Club. But there's passionate, and then there's crossing lines. And that's where you've got to make sure you're finding that balance. That's all I think on it. I don't think any manager should have to fear for their safety. Now, that might be an overreaction on the part of the club. I'm not just, but when you see certain things, like, for example, fans walking up to Thirlwell and Stewart, I don't mind if they say, look, what's going on? Walking up and swearing and all that, it just doesn't make you look good, and it reflects poorly in the club. And I think that's the difficulty when you're trying to sell the club, not passionate fans, because we all have that passion.
We all have the passion, and those messages were going out early, weren't they? Because I alluded to it on the reaction video, saying that there was a sign put up early doors that said, "Deal with this now before the seats are empty," which they didn't do. But I'm not condoning what they did. I mean, there's no evidence at the moment to suggest that there was anything violent or anything towards players or management team. Obviously, it's not a good look because it does look quite intimidating. But we've constantly been told that we're going to ignore the outside noise by Martin. Doesn't matter what they say. We're not listening to them. We're going to carry on doing what we do. So the fans are getting more and more irate with the man every single time. So that eventually something like this was going to happen. And like I said before, again on the reaction, we stood by a bus. That's what we did. We stood by a bus. I imagine there'll be some colourful language, no doubt about it, but we didn't pick up silver guard barriers and start lobbing them at anybody, turning them into sharks as they flew across the air. We didn't do anything like that. We didn't throw anything at the bus. We didn't break the bus. We did no damage to the bus. The fact they literally just stood there because they were like, until we get you gone, we're not moving. So in a way, it did work. It's just the way it, like you said, the look of it doesn't look great. But I mean, the Thelwell and Stewart thing, you can't do stuff like that anymore because there'll always be somebody with a phone lurking. There always is. I mean, I run first aid courses, and I always say, always be careful what's going on around you because there'll always be somebody with a phone. So that's going to be the case as well with that. I'll give props to Thelwell because he actually calmed that situation down. If you watch Thelwell, he talks to the person. He doesn't raise his voice. He keeps it nice and level. He keeps going. And then Stuart goes and says, well, who would you bring in? And it just lifts the thing again because it's not our job. That's your job.
100%. Let's say that as well.
Do you know what I mean? Thelwell actually said we can go have a conversation. We can go and have one.
Yeah.
And then obviously Patrick Stewart comes out with the comment, as you're saying, and the tensions go through the roof. So he's obviously wanting to have that chat, but it then makes you think: does Patrick Stewart does he get this job? Is he going to be the right man for this job? Because let's not beat around the bush. A lot of people are wanting Patrick Stewart and Thelwell sacked as well. They want him gone as well. So it's not just Russell Martin people want him gone. The other two in the background that they want gone as well, and they're calling for their head. So we need to be aware of that as well.
Just like to point out, JD, I have done that on many occasions as I used to work for the ambulance service. So there's a few people out there that have had that unfortunate happen.
Yes, and by the way, can I just say, because there's a few people waving things at me, and that's fair enough. That's part of this job. Jim, 100%, I've lost it. There's no question about it. Anybody who watched the watch along me and Alex done last season, and it was at the cup final when we lost in penalties to Celtic, I lost my head a bit there. I did. I then came on and done a solo show an hour or two later, and everything was fine. So of course I have. I'm not unsympathetic. I'm not saying that because you're 100% correct. No doubt about it. James Alexander, no, I don't believe the fans actually wanted to physically attack Russell Martin. What I'm saying is the optics made it appear that could be the case. Clearly, there was a feeling amongst the Rangers security staff and the team there that it was better to get him out the back door and just get him away quietly under police escort. All I'm saying is the optics of that aren't great. I don't actually think anybody was going to do anything, to be clear. Anyway, couple of more super chats to come through, and then we'll have a chat about Thelwell and Stewart and their position and their place in all of this. Right, where are we? Jeez, there's loads of them. We've done that one. Vix, we're 199 super chat. Thanks so much, Vix. I think that's the second one. She says the news is absolutely delightful. Agreed. Trying Scotsman. I feel like the weight of the world has been lifted. Toodle Pip, you useless bastard. Doreen has been a member for 3 months. She must have renewed it 3 months ago because I'm sure she's been longer. But the legend of the channel, Doreen. What a feeling, finally. Absolutely. Done that one. RFC 72 has been a member for 16 months. Much appreciated, RFC. Hopefully the players can work as a team now. That would be splendid. Gaz, I'm glad it's over. So happy finally getting rid of him. We can all enjoy our football. PS Connor, you did mention my super chat on Friday. You're right, guys, and I humbly apologise to you for that. I did miss it. Much like tonight, it was awfully busy. And there was just loads, and yours just happened to get missed. I did, however, send it to Martin and asked him to bring it up on the next show, which I think he did. So, but yes, you'll have to accept my apologies for that. I don't know about that. Ian, can you have a look for me at a £5 super chat from 10:16 PM and tell me if you think I can bring that up? Honestly, people, when you're doing a super chat, have a clean name, especially on public shows. DJ Kieran McDee, our own Kieran. Connor, apparently it's Martin Ross on a 4-year deal in tomorrow. Very good, very good.
You bring that up. That's not a problem. He's up all the time.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure because I don't want to get Martin in trouble. Or Martin, that is not. So, that person said, finally, better late than never. Do we trust those numpties upstairs to get the replacement appointment right? That's a £5 super chat as well, so thanks very much. And that leads me nicely, actually, on to those aforementioned numpties, Brian. Thelwell and Stewart. They made the appointment of Russell Martin after 7 interviews. I assume, Brian, that it won't take 7 interviews with the next manager, but who knows? Do we trust them to get this appointment right?
Well, this is the problem now, right? They've made a balls up of this one in their first appointment. So the leeway and the goodwill of the Rangers fan base isn't what it was at the start of the season. So they're already behind the 8 ball. They're already snookered as far as the Rangers fan base are concerned. They've got to bring out one hell of a rabbit out of a hat to get us back on side, because as the videos were circulating after Thursday night, I feel that two have got off extremely lightly. Patrick Stewart and Thirlwell. I think they've got, maybe Patrick Stewart's came in for a bit more heat, but Thirlwell especially, I feel, has got away with a lot. So this next appointment to them, I would say, is make or break for them, the two of them. If they're still in position, that is, if that's, because Patrick Stewart has had a good few run-ins now with the fans. So he's not looked favourably well by us. So I would say he's on a bigger, stickier wicket than Thirlwell, but Thirlwell's certainly got to get this next appointment absolutely spot on, because if he doesn't, then that's 2 bad appointments. So, that doesn't look good either. So, yeah.
You think, Brian, on that? Well, Andrew Kavanagh, because I think he's been a spearhead in leading this decision. Personally, I think it's no coincidence that Russell Martin gets sacked just about, a week and a half, 10 days after we know Kavanagh was in town for a bit, seeing how things. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think he gave them the ultimatum and said, right, he's got 2 games here, or he's done. And I think that probably somewhere in the middle of that maybe might be the truth. But do you think Kavanagh will have had those conversations with Stewart and Thelwell as well, and making it clear to them that the onus is on them big time to get this next appointment right, or their job could be on the line?
I would totally agree with that. I mean, to be honest, you would expect Patrick Stewart or Kevin Thirlwell to make that decision, or certainly turn around to the chairman and go, I think, Chairman, we got this wrong. They should be making that recommendation to the chairman. Shouldn't take the chairman to fly over from America and go, what the hell's happening here, boys? This isn't good. Why is this? What's happening here? Why is the sporting director and the CEO not going to the chairman and saying, I think we need to have a meeting. I think we need to sort this out. This isn't good. So why did it take the chairman to come over and sort of wag his finger at his understudies and say, look, this has got to get sorted out ASAP? As you say, 2 games. If it's not sorted out, you sack him. So no, I think Thirlwell and Patrick Stewart have got to start growing a set and start to act like CEO and sporting director a bit more, because as far as I can see, they're not doing much of a job.
Yeah, agreed. Alex, coming in a second. I just want to answer this. Accusations being levelled left, right, and centre. Why are we trying to dampen the mood? This is a happy occasion, and it's not always a happy occasion when somebody gets sacked, but this definitely is. But I don't care what you think of me, an apt name. Just going back to the bus discussion from after the game, stop over dramatising whoever this host is. My name's Connor. How you doing? The fans were literally just stood there, stop being so woke. I was not over dramatising anything. I literally said, in fact, I didn't even say it was a super chat. And when people make super chats, we have to have conversations about it. That's all it is. Again, I agree 100%. I don't think there was any real danger, but the optics, because what the club made the decisions to do were what they were. However, I respect your opinion. Alex, Thelwell and Stewart. Do you agree with Brian's assessment and the things there? I mean, their coats are almost certainly in sugary pegs here as well, aren't they?
I mean, I do agree with Brian, but I mean, Thelwell did come out and say that, you know, if Russell Martin was sacked, he would walk. So does he walk? Does he stay and keep it and try and right this ship that's obviously very much capsized right now, because we're obviously in a very poor position from when they came in. So he's obviously said that he would go if Russell Martin was sacked, that he was the man for the job, he was the man for this Rangers job, he was going to turn it around, and he hasn't. So if Thelwell and Stewart are going to stay, they've got a hell of a lot of work to do to turn the fans' opinion back around on them. But they've not got a lot of time to do it, and that's going to be the biggest issue, because they don't have a lot of time at all to do this. We are sitting, 8th in the league? We're miles behind first, miles behind second. Right now, like, we don't even look like we're getting top 6 the way we're playing. So I do agree with the assessment that Thelwell and Stewart are definitely going to need to be looking themselves and wondering, are we not just Russell Martin, are we the right men to be in this job? And do we need to take our leave and let somebody else try this? Because right now, not many fans are actually behind them.
No, that is true. I mean, look, I think that's the thing, isn't it, Ian? That I think that in general terms, the fans will now be relieved that Russell Martin is gone. But the next steps are equally as important now. They've got 2 weeks, which I think is good. That gives them plenty of time. I'd like to think they've maybe already had conversations and sounded people out. But when you look at it, they've got to be careful that they just get this decision right, and that they can alleviate the concerns of the fans. Because if they don't, and they're still there, that's where that toxicity could potentially come from again.
Well, I'll just put my 10 pence in about Thelwell and Stewart. I don't trust them to make this decision correct at all. In fact, I said they can make this a double whammy earlier on today, because there was a certain man sat in the studio at Falkirk that could certainly do a damn sight better job than Thelwell could do. I would be no harm at all in sounding Sir David of Weir out of whether he wants a job at Ibrox, but I don't know if that would happen necessarily, because I think Chelsea is sniffing at David Weir as well. But they have to get this right. They can't just, it can't be a project manager. It can't be somebody who has this philosophy, playing out for the back and trying to play neat football and around the low block. It doesn't work. Certainly doesn't work in Scotland. Get someone in who knows how to just play football, who knows, if I get that ball into the box and feed the striker 9 times out of 10 will score a goal. Miovski proved that today. The one cross that we put into the box was put into the back of the net by Miovski. That's what we need. Just a manager who plays. At this point, I'd take Mike Bassett, England manager, because he plays 4-4-2. That's what I would do. But they've got to get this right. They can't mess about. I mean, I alluded to it earlier on that maybe they delayed, knowing that he needed to go, because they needed to go and talk to some people to make this as seamless as possible, so that he goes, and then within the next 24 to 48 hours, the new guy comes in. Who that will be, we'll find out in the fullness of time. The fact that it's Thelwell, I'd imagine it'll be somebody who managed Everton at some point in the last few years, whether that be Dyche, Benitez, Ancelotti, who knows, but we'll find out. It certainly won't be Lampard. I don't see Lampard leaving Coventry to come to us. So we had that chance, and weirdly, one of the biggest names in our football club in modern day, Graham Souness, was the man championing him, and we didn't listen. So, I mean, I'm not going to rewrite history. I was against Lampard when it was mentioned, but I was proven wrong of what sort of manager he is. So, but yeah, they've got to get this right. If they don't get this right and are still in situ, then it won't just be a manager that loses his job. There'll be 3, 4, 5 people that will be following him outside of the coaching staff.
Yes, absolutely. And we will have a quick look at the early runners and riders in the candidates list. Brian kindly sent me over earlier. How quickly things move, that they're from different sources and they've got the lists slightly different and who's the favourite. That is just the way of it. But before we do that, let me just get through a couple of quick bits of housekeeping. First of all, if you would like to follow us every step of the way in this new manager hunt over the next few weeks, and indeed for the rest of the season, then you can do so by becoming a member of the channel, as it says down below in that handy little banner you see there at the bottom of your screen. For as little as $1.99 a month, you'll get loads and loads of extra content. You get your morning shows with Martin. You get Rabble Report with Ian Thompson, the other Ian. You also get other tiers as well. You can be a CEO, you can be a sponsor, or even an ownership tier, whatever is affordable to you if you want to support us. And there's loads and loads of content there for you as well. And you, as I say, you can follow us every step of the way this season. If you can't afford to do that, that's not a problem. You could also support us by leaving a like or a subscribe on this show, if you would be so kind as to do so. A couple of super chats to try and fly through. They have been incredible tonight, let me say. So, Graham, with a £2 super chat, thank you very much indeed, Graham. He would have the backing of the current owners. I'm not entirely sure who Graham was referring to there, maybe just in general, but absolutely. I am wee Johnny with a $4.99 super chat. That's a name. We needed a manager that has much more autonomy, not micromanaged nor forced to play players by the board. Brian, I'll throw that to you since you enjoyed the name so much. I mean, I agree with Johnny's point about the autonomy part. I didn't ever get the impression, though, for Russell Martin, like he was being micromanaged or that he was having to play players the board wanted. The only exception I would say is possibly Chermiti, because that felt like a Thelwell signing rather than a Russell Martin one. But with the exception of that, all the other players were players he wanted, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously strong rumours that now coming out now that you see that Mikey Moore needs a certain amount of game time, and was that keeping Curtis out of the team, and so there's that sort of rumour floating around as well. But yeah, the Chermiti one I'll totally agree with. That was a Thelwell signing if ever there was one. I mean, who on earth decided to sanction £8 million on that lad? You know, it's not, again, as everybody has said, it's not his fault, the price tag, but I'm afraid with a price tag comes great responsibility, and I'm afraid that price tag doesn't match the player we've got. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It's not his fault, as I said before. But yeah, I don't think he was micromanaged. I think he was just stubborn. He just had this ego. Mm-hmm. He just had a massive ego, and it was either his way or the highway. I just think he was so stubborn and blinkered that didn't matter what happened, he was always right, and everybody, the whole world was wrong. No matter what we seen, no matter what pundits seen, no matter what newspaper guys seen, no matter what anybody's seen, Russell Martin was always right and they were wrong. And I'm sorry, that is just the worst thing to do as a manager.
Yeah, 100%. I agree on that. Lockeye, the View, a regular contributor, much appreciated, £10 super chat from you. Thank you very much. Alex, he says, the loyalty of the fans has been stretched like an elastic band and it finally snapped today. That's what has happened. Russell Martin done it to himself, talking pish all the time and blaming everyone else. It is hard to disagree with that, Alex, because he did indeed like to point fingers, which is never going to endear you, especially when things aren't going well.
No, I mean, Brian literally hit the nail on the head there by saying that it was the stubbornness that pretty much broke the camel's back with Russell Martin. He didn't want to change his philosophy. He knew the system he wanted to play. The players were going to play it, whether they liked it or not. I believe that the only times we got a goal or looked good is when the players ignored Russell Martin and said, you know what, we can actually just do this our way, and started actually playing well, because there was periods where we actually looked very, very good. Then all of a sudden we're back to playing the Russell Martin way. But he definitely snapped today. There's no doubt about it. But he's done it to himself. I think that as soon as he alienated the fans in the press conference, that's when everybody lost any respect for him. Everybody just completely said, no, we're done. The results aren't going to improve and we want him out. And the fans, obviously, bar today with the bus, the fans voted every time with their feet. They were leaving early. They were chanting for him to get out the club, and that's a nicer term. I put that as well. What they were saying, he went to go clap them at Livy, and he was chanted to get away from them. So the fans have very much voted with their feet and said, right, no, we don't want you. You need to go. So I do think that it's Russell Martin that's done this to himself, and he's the only one that is to blame for it in terms of what we saw on the pitch. In the backroom staff, there's obviously, we spoke about Thirlwell and Stewart, but in terms of the way that we've been treated as fans and the football we've been served up for the past, two and a bit months, is just, it's not good enough. And I know we've had a lot of stick and a lot of comments, obviously, on the pod because we've been so negative, because there's nothing to actually cheer about from that Russell Martin tenure. Not one thing can you actually get behind and say that worked. So I think that it's about turning a new corner now. Yes, we're only in October, but we are miles behind anybody else, miles behind improving, and it's going to take an absolute miracle to get the fans back on side for this season alone.
I mean, yeah, it 100% is. I totally agree with that. And Graham has also been a £10 super chat. They're just absolutely flying. There's a rich Sporting Corner. That's not Rangers I love. I know we wanted him out. Sad that's the way it's turned out. Yeah, well, obviously we had a lengthy discussion about all of that earlier, but I think we all are in agreement there, 100%. And again, thanks very much for the support. Couple more super chats and then we can get to runners and riders. I'm keen to make sure we get them all so I don't miss any this time. Stuart Henderson with a £2 super chat. Connor enjoys talking, leave him alone. I do enjoy talking, Stuart. You are absolutely correct. Vix with another £1.99 super chat. Thanks very much for the support, Vix, and Stuart, of course. Draws from Russell Martin better than defeats, at least. Well, yeah.
He celebrated that draw like it was a win, though. That was the biggest.
He did, yeah.
Like it was, and that was the mentality of down south, though, because in the Championship, League One, whatever, even in the Premier League, getting a draw can seem monumental, but up here, it's win or nothing. And Russell Martin never got that philosophy ever, even as a player. He just never seemed to get that philosophy while being in our club.
100%. Right, okay. Let's do the runners and riders then, shall we? So these are from two different sources, and again, they're different. In terms of the names are the same, but in slightly different order. So, firstly, Odds Checker. Very quickly, within about 15 minutes of the news, they had their odds. So, Odds Checker saying that Kevin Muscat is the current favourite at 2-1. Steven Gerrard, second favourite at 3-1. Then Sean Dyche at 4-1. Gary O'Neill at 6-1. Michael Carrick at 8-1. Danny Roll 8-1. Interesting. And then Football Specials saying Sean Dyche is the favourite at 11-4. Steven Gerrard 3-1. Danny Roll 5-1. Gary O'Neill 6-1. Jose Mourinho, who's just took over at Benfica, so I would highly doubt that. He is at 6-1. Kevin Muscat at 8-1. Barry Ferguson 8-1. Michael Carrick 8-1, and Steve Cooper at 10-1. Ian, before I ask your opinion on those names, I'm going to do it in the backdrop if I can find the comment of our very own Wilf, who has made this comment. Wilf has made this comment. We need someone that understands Scottish football. Winning domestically is important. Europe looks after itself. Anybody on the list of names that I've just read out there, Ian, jump out to you that would fit the bracket that Wilf is looking for, and that I assume most of us would be looking for?
Dyche has never, as far as I'm aware, played in Europe. He might have done it one season with Burnley, maybe, but I think Dyche sorts out your defence, but that's pretty much all he does. He doesn't inspire me with any confidence, but he would still be better than Russell Martin, let's be fair. Gerrard and Muscat, definitely the two that would top the list for me. Probably Muscat just over Gerrard a little bit, but that Scottish football knowledge is what's needed. So Muscat does have it, but limited, because he played here for a season and a tiny bit. But Gerard knows he's been here, but we've already discussed him, so I'm not going to go in it again. There's only one serious candidate in Scottish football that takes it, and that is McInnes. For me, Stephen Robertson, yes, I like the idea of Stephen Robertson, but we've had back and forth in all groups. And again, what has he actually done? I mean, he's done well at St Mirren on a limited budget, but maybe that's where his limit is. Whereas I think McInnes might have another level to it. Other than that, I mean, Mourinho, he's not going to come, not now. There was a window of opportunity where I think we might possibly at least been able to get him to talk to us, but that's gone. Other than that, the names on the list don't inspire huge amounts of confidence, but it's only an hour and a bit since he was sacked, so I'm not going to take too much information out of a list that was made up quickly because those were the names that were in the hat the last time. None of it shouts, that's the one. That's definitely, there's nobody on that list that shouts, that's the one. Not any of them.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, it's a tough one because those names, they are the names. Most of them were on the list the last time as well, so it's not a surprise that they're mentioned. Shona had thrown in a name that isn't on that list, Mark Van Bommel. Not entirely sure about his credentials, managerial, or his record, but again, I'm sure they'll explore the options. I don't see anybody that fits the bill really for me on that list, I have to be honest. I mean, Jose Mourinho is the Hollywood appointment, right? But he's just took over at Benfica, so you can get him scrubbed off the list. He's not taking the job. Steve Cooper, likewise, has just recently took a job in Italy, I believe. So again, I don't see him taking the job and leaving a job he's just walked into. So again, you probably tick that off. And then you look at the others. Michael Carrick, to me, would be another Russell Martin situation in terms of another sort of unproven English Championship level project manager. And it's not against Carrick because I think he's done a decent job at Middlesbrough. It just concerns me. And then you've got the guys who've been here before: Stevie Gerrard, Barry Ferguson. Fair to say, Brian, if Barry Ferguson was to get the call, he would want it permanently this time and not interim.
Yeah, I think Barry dipped his toe the last 3 or 4 months of the season, and I think he was initially, told that he was only getting it till the end of the season. But I think his experience that 3 or 4 months whetted his appetite, and he probably wanted the job full time now. I would have to say that the only reason he got the interim job in the first place was because of who he was as a player at the club. If he was, that's the only reason he was given it, in the sense that the board at the time wanted somebody to come in, restore us a little bit of pride, and try and get things moving in the right direction for the new manager. Didn't obviously work out as well as it wanted for Barry, barring a couple of results, but. No, I think, again, Barry's just another one of these young, inexperienced managers that we can't afford. We just can't afford to go down this. And maybe this manager will come good route. We can't go down that. We've got to have somebody who's been, around the block a few times and at least won something as well. That's what I want, is somebody that's won something. I'm not wanting to go down this route of, young managers, English Championship, XG, all this nonsense. Just get somebody that can win games. Simple as that.
Would you be up for sorry, Brian, just since it's your women's show compatriot there, good old Wilf, would you be up for a Healy and Davis partnership?
I mean, he's done reasonably well at Linfield, I believe, David Healy, isn't he? Done okay. Don't think has he won the league? I think he's won the league a couple of years in a row. A big jump, isn't it, Linfield to Rangers? But if anybody can do it, he'd have the mentality. He certainly wouldn't be able. What's the word? He at least wouldn't bullshit us if things were going wrong. Simple as if I'm going to say something like that, he wouldn't bullshit us. He would shoot from the hip. He would tell us exactly how things are. So I think that would be an interesting one. Again. Are the players that are currently there going to look at him and think, yeah, he's a guy that I'll run through brick walls for? I don't know. Stephen Davis beside him, then you're maybe talking that sort of. I just want somebody with a bit of presence. I just want somebody that's got a bit of aura about them, and that the players are going to want to actually go through a brick wall. Yeah, okay, James. Aye.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I just want somebody with a presence.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what we all hope for and want. Lee Miller saying break the bank for McInnes. I'm feeling a lot here, Alex, from the comments and what I'm seeing. It does seem to me that the consensus is Gerrard or McInnes at this moment in time. The challenge with Gerrard is I think 50% of the fan base would want him and be happy with him, but you'd have the other half that would be like, no sure. McInnes, I think, would have more backing from the wider fan base. I think you'd have at least maybe 70-80% of the fans would be quite happy with McInnes. You're never going to get 100%, let's not kid ourselves. But you would have to, as Lee says, break the bank to bring him in.
I don't think it's going to be a question of breaking the bank. I think regardless of what we were to offer, I don't think Hearts even pick up the phone. In all honesty, I don't even think we get a response from Hearts. They're absolutely flying high now. Tony Bloom's not going to be like, hi, on you go. I know you've got us to top of the league, but on you go to Rangers and we'll try and recruit somebody else. I will say, though, that we've obviously just talked about the odds and the managers that are on there. Russell Martin wasn't on it. He wasn't on it last at the start of the season. He wasn't on the odds list at all, and all of a sudden he came out of nowhere and he was given the job. So maybe this is just a case of this is all the names that were in the hat before, and all of a sudden we're going to go right here. We go. You're the man for the job, and take it. Because the exact same happened with Ancelotti. He was out of nowhere and he went straight to the top of the odds. So if that's going to happen again, I think there's going to be massive repercussions from a lot of the fans that aren't going to be happy if that's the case. For me, though, I think that I would be more than happy. Excuse me, I've said it for a good while now that I would retain Derek McInnes at Rangers. I think he knows the club. He's obviously he's got a presence at Ibrox. He knows the teams who maybe don't have the greatest form playing, but look at I watched the second City derby. And he keeps them playing right up until the last whistle. That's what we lack. You know, we get under Russell Martin, we get a 10-minute spell of let's go hell to leather and get it. Derek McInnes was you're playing for the whole, you're playing whistle to whistle. So much mentality that I think if he comes in, this club gets flipped 180 and we start putting a challenge in. I don't know if we get right up, but I think the fan base probably will back McInnes because he's not been here. Whereas I think a lot of fans are probably still a bit salty or a bit upset at the way Gerrard left, and obviously he went just because the money was offered at Villa. So I think a lot of people wouldn't want him back for that reason. But I'm the exact same as Brian. I just want somebody that can win games. I don't care who it is. I just want somebody that's got a mentality to win games. See if we can start winning games. I don't care. I said it on the watch along today. I don't care if we win 1-0 and we fight for the whole 90 minutes and we actually look like we're putting in a challenge. See if we win 1-0. Rather than just sitting there and, oh my God, we scraped that and we got lucky. Like, we shouldn't be going to teams as Rangers Football Club and having to be the underdogs. We've been that the whole there you go, mate. The whole season we've been underdogs regardless of where we go. That should not be the case for us. And the thing is that we have been. I think if the next manager that comes in has to get us this fight back, there's a group of players there that will fight. I just think that they're all down tools, the exact same as the fans. They down tools on Russell Martin and they wanted him gone.
Alex, do you not think as well that the fans will, I mean, are they quickly forgetting that McInnes turned us down before?
I think they probably are forgetting that. I think, there's probably something in the fact that because Derek McInnes is flying high right now with Hearts, there's that hype of, can you do it with us? I do think there's a bit of that. He's obviously got a Hearts team who last season was struggling massively. He's went in and he's turned it 180. Now you can say that. Look at what Jimmy Tilleen did with Aberdeen last season. They got him to a point and then they crumbled. Is that going to happen for Derek McInnes? We don't know, but could that happen at Hearts this season? I just think that with the squad and the budget we've got, I think he could very easily do a job at Ibrox. I just think that have we got faith that Stuart and Thirlwell are going to get the right man? I don't have any. I really don't. I don't have any faith that they're going to get the right appointment. Because they're going to go for a project manager who will look at how can we improve this, and this is my philosophy, this is what we're going to do, how can we go forward. We need somebody that's just coming and going, right, this is what we're doing, but has a plan A, B and C, because Russell Martin was, my plan A is we'll play this tippy-tappy football, go in the back and we'll try and counter quickly. If that doesn't work, we'll throw in every attacker we've got and we'll go for it. Oh shit, that didn't work, right, we don't know what to do now. We need a manager that knows how to change formations, play to the game, and see if it doesn't work, change it, because right now we've got nothing to change at all. It just reeks of desperation, the way that we've got this club right now. We're desperate for anything. And that's not Rangers Football Club to be desperate for anything. We should be fighting tooth and nail to get every result, because we always make it look easy. Well, right now we're easy to play against.
Well, I also can I just nip in there just on what Brian was saying. It goes back to that earlier conversation about Gerrard bringing Beale back. If we're winning, nobody cares. The same thing. If we win stuff under McInnes when he comes back in, nobody cares that he turned us down before. That was a long time ago. Then, as someone has pointed out in the thing, it is a different set of circumstances to what that was. Whether you believe he was advised by Walter to come to the club or not to come to the club at that particular time is up to you. But if he wins things, it doesn't matter that he turned us down before. They'll love him no matter what.
Yeah, well, Ian, I mean, Vix is seriously concerned that it could be Graham Potter. Let's hope not. Let's please hope not. Because
I don't think Graham Potter comes to Scotland. There you go. I don't think.
Yes, I agree. Ian Thompson there saying McInnes would be a sensible appointment, but he's not convinced Stuart's got a backbone to get him. Well, again, that'd be interesting to see. Oh, dear me. Ian, we'll come to you for your final thoughts on who you'd like in a second. Let me just mop up the last remaining super chats for the evening thus far. Firstly, James Weir has become a member. So welcome, James, and thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. Subo99 with a $4.99 super chat. That's a lot of 99s in there. Almost makes me hungry for an ice cream cone. Don't know why. But Subo had said T-Dice, he'd wear a suit and doesn't have hair to play with on the touchline. He'd ask each player to do what they do best. I mean, yeah, we would be a more organised defensive unit under Sean Dyche. I think that's safe to say, 100%. And channel legend Jim Sloan, £50 super chat. I mean, tremendous. We've had a couple of them in as well. Honestly, the support is remarkable from every single one of you. Jim says, "Good night, lads. I'm still 2 belts and a wee bit pissed." The 2 belts, of course, referring to the Rabble Wrestling, which if you become a member and you're a wrestling fan, you can be part of.
Jim, it could be Jim 3 belts with tag teams as well with me.
Well, this is, yeah, absolutely. Ian, your thoughts then on the list of candidates we've sort of outlined there. Any of them jump out at you? And if not, is there anyone you think might be the right man for the job?
Well, as this has been going on, because there's 4 of them, because it gives us a little bit more time. I've been in and out of the Rabble chat as well, and they're asking that very same question: who your top 3? And Lewis started off by putting his top 3 in, and my top 3 that I've put in have gone for, because I will forever love this man for what he did when he came up. Steven Gerrard, McInnes, or Muscat are my 3 main contenders. I'll go a little bit outside the box and add a 4th one in because I was championing him at the time. If we are thinking outside the box, and Eden Terzic, former Borussia Dortmund manager, pushed Bayern Munich all the way in Germany, only to lose it on the last day. Got them to a Champions League final, that sort of deal. So I wouldn't be against going that way, but those are my 3, Gerrard, Muscat, or McInnes. They all know Scottish football to a level. And if we're looking for someone to do the job in our own league, because our own league's the bread and butter of Europe. If you don't do well in our league, Europe's not a thing. So you get someone in who knows our league, who's got an aura about them, and they all do in their own little way. So those are my 3.
Yeah, fair enough. And I seen your super chat coming in, Chaz, all right, so don't you worry. Chaz with a £5 super chat just right in at the end there. He's saying, and thanks very much, Chaz, we greatly appreciate it, mate. He's saying, all fans need to get a story right why McInnes knocked us back. Please stop guessing ask Kenny Miller, stop talking crap. Yeah, I get that. There obviously has been a conflicting narrative over the reasons why Derek McInnes knocked his back. He himself says that he had a conversation with the late great Walter Smith, who at the time said, advised him that it wouldn't be the right time for him to take the job. That might be the case. If that's the case, fair enough. As I say, without being in that room, we don't know. But I agree with Chaz that there's a lot of misconceptions out there about it, and that's not fair. Right, I've got one quick question to ask you because it's, I think, a good one to end on. Brian's camera's off, so I don't know if he's there. Good. Right. In a word, gents, because I'm aware it's late and people have got work in the morning, myself included. Stuart Allison, he came in earlier and he simply asked this question. Is the league still salvageable? Ian?
Is this a one-word answer, or?
I mean, preferably, we've got beds to go to, but you do you.
It's only October, yes.
Brian?
It's going to be a struggle to get anywhere near back into this title race. I'm not saying it's out of our reach. I'm skeptical it's salvageable. I'm skeptical it's salvageable.
Alex?
That was a lot of words for a one-word answer, by the way. Yes, I'm going to be positive. Yes.
There we go. And you're right, Vix. I stand corrected. You're absolutely correct. Russell Martin does not have work in the moment. So it'll be a long way for him. A lot of people also say Alchemist saying he doesn't think so. Robert doesn't think so. James Alexander doesn't think so. RRM a bit more positive. He thinks it is salvageable. Smoke says no. JD, yes, but I doubt it. He's trepidatious about the whole affair, but there we are. Kerry Mack says no. Blue Nose no. Aldo 100%. Did you? And so on and so forth. Loads and loads of comments. That'll do us there, guys. That has been a bumper edition of the show. It always is on a night like this when breaking news like this happens. It's always busy. Loads of super chats, which we greatly appreciate. Over 3,000 people watching us live at 11:15 on a Sunday night as well, which is absolutely incredible. We cannot thank you enough for that support. My thanks to Hamish, Brian, and Alex for jumping on with me tonight. Great stuff tonight, guys. Make sure you join Martin tomorrow. He's back with the morning rabble and in the afternoon rabble at 12:30, which everybody can watch. I'm sure that'll be lively and busy as well as we move into the future at Rangers, which does not include Russell Martin, and we will find out over the coming days and weeks exactly who will take over and who will have the daunting prospect of steering this ship back on course. Until then, though, enjoy what's left of your Sunday night, and we'll see you